Hi, I'm Maggie. Life's been relatively quiet since I moved to Portland 5 years ago. My small consulting firm keeps me busy, and I've finally built a circle of friends who know nothing about my past. Earth to Maggie! You're zoning out again, Lisa said, waving her hand in front of my face. We sat at our usual corner table at Riverside Cafe. Sorry, just thinking about the Wilson project deadline, I replied, stirring my untouched coffee. Lisa narrowed her eyes. Nope, that's your something's wrong face, not your work stress face. I got a call from Jake last night. First time in 2 years. Your brother Jake? The one who... Yep. The one who stood by and watched while my father testified that I stole his retirement savings, I said. The brother who didn't say a word when I got convicted for something I never did. Lisa leaned forward. What did he want after all this time? He says Dad's sick, Parkinson's. Apparently it's progressing fast and he needs someone to take care of him. And let me guess, Jake's too busy with his perfect life in Chicago? He said, Dad's been asking for you. He knows he made mistakes, Mags. Mistakes? He put me in jail for 8 months. Cost me my teaching job, my apartment, my reputation. Lisa's hand covered mine. You don't owe him anything. My phone buzzed. Jake again. I showed Lisa the screen. 3 calls in 12 hours? He's persistent, she said. I answered, putting the phone on speaker. Jake. Maggie, thanks for picking up. Did you think about what I said? About taking care of the man who deliberately lied under oath to punish me for confronting him about gambling away Mom's life insurance? That man. He's still our father, Maggie. Biology doesn't make him my father. His actions removed that title permanently. Jake sighed. Look, I'm at his house now. The doctor's appointment didn't go well. Could you just talk to him? Why would I... Maggie? A weaker, raspier version of my father's voice came through. Is that you, sweetheart? The familiar endearment sent ice through my veins. Lisa squeezed my hand. I'm not your sweetheart, I replied flatly. I know I hurt you, he continued, his voice shaking. I've regretted it every day since. Please, I need to see you before... Before what? Before you face consequences for your actions? Too late. I already lived through mine. Please, Maggie. Jake cut in. He's really sick. So was Mom, but he didn't seem too concerned then, did he? When he was draining her accounts while she was dying? Things weren't that simple, Jake said. They were exactly that simple. He stole. I confronted him. He framed me. You said nothing. Lisa leaned toward the phone. Hi, Jake. This is Lisa. Maybe give Maggie some space? Who is this? This is a family matter. My father's voice rose indignantly. Exactly my point, I said. Lisa is more family to me than either of you. Jake, I'll call you later. I hung up and stared at my coffee. You okay? Lisa asked. No, I admitted. But I think I know what I need to do. Which is... I need to talk to Aunt Eleanor, Dad's sister. She always knew more than she let on about that whole situation. Road trip to Seattle? Lisa suggested. Looks like it. And maybe a stop at the police station to talk to Detective Miller. He never seemed convinced of my guilt. Lisa raised her coffee cup. To finally settling old scores. Not for revenge, I clarified. For justice. Honey, Lisa said with a knowing smile, in your case, they might be the same thing. I always wondered when you'd show up asking questions, Aunt Eleanor said, pouring tea in her Seattle apartment. Colorful bird sculptures watched our conversation like silent witnesses. When Jake called about Dad's condition, it brought everything back, I explained. You were at the trial every day, but you never testified. Your father made it clear what would happen if I spoke up. And what exactly would have happened? He would have cut me off completely. I was caring for your grandmother then, and Richard controlled all her finances. She looked away. I'm not proud of my silence. But you knew I was innocent. Of course I knew. Richard had been gambling for years. Your mother knew too, toward the end. Mom knew? This was news to me. She changed her will before she died, left her personal items directly to you and Jake. He was furious. Eleanor sipped her tea. When you confronted him about the missing money, he panicked. My phone buzzed. A text from Detective Miller. Can meet you at 3 p.m., bringing files. Eleanor, there's something else you should know. Your father didn't just lie about the theft. He forged documents. Your signature on withdrawal slips. I saw him practicing your handwriting. You saw this and said nothing? I pulled away from her. I was a coward, she whispered. But I kept one of the practice sheets. She walked to a bookshelf and pulled out an old photo album. Inside was a yellowed paper with multiple versions of my signature. This is evidence of forgery, I said, carefully taking the paper. These charges should never have stuck, Detective Miller said, spreading case files across the coffee shop table. Your father's statement was compelling, and the bank records seemed to support his story. But you had doubts, I prompted. The timeline never made sense, and your character references were impeccable. 26-year-old math teachers don't suddenly steal their father's retirement fund. He shuffled through papers. Plus, there was the gambling debt your father tried to hide. You knew about that? I found evidence, but it was circumstantial. Nothing I could use to counter his direct testimony. I showed him Eleanor's paper. My aunt kept this. My father practiced forging my signature. Miller studied it, then nodded. This helps. If your aunt will testify. My phone rang. Jake again. Jake? Where are you? Dad's asking for you nonstop. Jake sounded frustrated. I'm in Seattle, talking to people who might actually tell me the truth for once. What does that mean? You're digging up ancient history instead of being here for family? Family? Where was family when Dad was testifying against me? Where were you? I didn't know what to believe then. Dad was convincing, and you two had been fighting about Mom's money. So you assumed I was guilty. Your own sister. A long pause. You're right. I should have trusted you. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Jake, I need to ask you something. Did you ever suspect Dad forged my signature on those bank slips? Another pause. Yes, he finally admitted. I found practice sheets in his desk when I was looking for Mom's insurance policy. I burned them. You what? I was confused and scared. Dad said you were trying to ruin the family, and I just wanted it all to stop. Jake's voice broke. I've regretted it every day since. Jake, please. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but Dad is genuinely sick, and he's trying to make amends before it's too late. I'm not interested in his deathbed redemption tour, I replied coldly. I'm interested in clearing my name. What if he made a formal statement, admitted everything? If he confessed on record to everything, the forgery, the false testimony, then maybe I'd consider hearing him out. I'll talk to him, Jake promised. The nursing home smelled of antiseptic and potpourri. My father sat in a wheelchair by the window, thinner than I remembered. Jake stood nervously beside him. She actually came, my father said as I entered with Lisa and Detective Miller. Maggie, my girl. I'm not here for a reunion, I stated flatly. I'm here because Jake said you're willing to confess. He glanced at Detective Miller. Who's this? Why did you bring the police? This is Detective Miller. He was involved in my case. He's here to take your statement. Statement? Jake just said you wanted to talk, my father protested. Either you make an official statement admitting what you did or I leave, I said. Wait, my father's hand trembled. Don't go, please. I spent 8 months in jail, lost my teaching career, had to start over, all because you lied. I was desperate, he said. The gambling debts, they were going to hurt me if I didn't pay. So you hurt me instead. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I thought you'd get probation. You thought framing me for a felony would result in probation? Richard, Detective Miller interjected, we have evidence you forged Maggie's signature. This could constitute new evidence of perjury and fraud. What do you want from me? I'm dying, Maggie. I want the truth, on record. And then you'll forgive me? Hope flickered in his eyes. No, I replied honestly. I don't think I'll ever forgive you, but I'll have my name cleared. You're just like your mother, he spat. Vindictive, holding grudges. Don't you dare talk about Mom, I warned. She changed her will to punish me. You confronted me to punish me. Now this? Lisa stepped forward. Mr. Reynolds, this isn't punishment. It's consequences. Who asked you? My father snapped. Mr. Reynolds, are you willing to make a statement admitting you falsely accused your daughter? Detective Miller asked. My father looked at Jake, who nodded encouragingly. Fine, he muttered. I'll tell you what happened. For 20 minutes, my father detailed everything. The gambling, stealing Mom's insurance money, forging my signature, and lying under oath. Detective Miller recorded it all. There. Are you satisfied now, Maggie? Does destroying what's left of my life make you happy? This isn't about happiness. It's about truth. And now what? You'll leave me here to die alone? Jake's here, I pointed out. Jake has his own family. He can't stay. Maggie, my father said, his voice turning wheedling. I'm asking for mercy. I have no one else. You had me, I said quietly. I would have helped you with your gambling problem. Instead, you chose to destroy my life. I made a terrible mistake. No. A mistake is forgetting an appointment. What you did was deliberate. If you leave me here, I swear I'll... His face contorted with sudden rage. I'll tell everyone you coerced this confession, that you threatened me. Who do you think they'll believe? A sick old man or a convicted felon? Are you threatening me? I asked incredulously. After everything? You leave me no choice, my father said, his mask of contrition completely gone. Detective Miller stepped forward. Mr. Reynolds, that sounded like a threat to file a false police report. I should remind you that I'm recording this conversation. My father's face drained of color. We're done here, I said, turning to leave. Maggie, wait, Jake called. He didn't mean it. He's just scared and desperate. No, I replied firmly. This is who he really is. This is who he's always been. The district attorney has agreed to file a motion to vacate your conviction, Detective Miller explained 3 weeks later. Your father's confession, combined with your aunt's testimony and the forensic evidence, makes for a compelling case. What about his threat to recant? I asked. That's actually working in our favor. It shows consciousness of guilt. Miller closed his folder. The hearing is set for next month, but it's largely procedural. Your record will be expunged. So it's really over? Lisa asked, squeezing my hand. Almost. There's also the matter of restitution. The court will likely order your father to compensate you for lost wages and damages. I don't want his money, I said automatically. Consider it, Miller advised. It's not about forgiveness, it's about justice. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Dad moved to hospice. Doctors say weeks, maybe days. He's asking for you. I showed the message to Lisa, who frowned. You don't have to go. I know, I replied, but I think I want to, for closure. The hospice room was quiet except for the steady beep of monitoring equipment. My father looked diminished in the hospital bed. You came, he whispered when he saw me. Not for you, I clarified. For me. Jake, who'd been sitting by the bed, stood up. I'll give you some privacy. No need, I said. I won't be staying long. Maggie, my father began, his voice weak but urgent. I know I can never make up for what I did, but I need you to know that I'm sorry, truly sorry. I studied him. You've had 5 years to apologize. You only did it when you needed something from me. That's fair, he admitted. I was too proud, too stubborn, too afraid to face what I'd done. And now? Now I'm afraid of dying with my daughter hating me. I don't hate you, I said after a moment. That would require energy I'm not willing to spend on you anymore. I just don't want you in my life. He closed his eyes briefly. The court called about restitution. I'm not interested in your money. It's not much anyway, he said with a ghost of his old bitter laugh. But there is something else. He gestured to the bedside table. Top drawer, there's an envelope. Jake retrieved it and handed it to me. Inside was a notarized document. It's a formal retraction of my testimony and a full confession, my father explained. Everything I did, why I did it. I had my lawyer draw it up last week. It won't change anything between us, he continued. But maybe it helps set the record straight. I carefully refolded the paper. Thank you for this. Can you forgive me, Maggie? He asked, his eyes pleading. No, I said gently. What you did broke something that can't be fixed. But I can acknowledge that you're trying to make amends now. He nodded slowly, tears in his eyes. I deserve that. I should go, I said. Will you come back? He asked. No, I answered honestly. This is goodbye, Dad. How do you feel? Lisa asked later that evening as we sat on her balcony watching the sunset. Lighter, I admitted. Not healed exactly, but unburdened. Do you think you made the right choice? Not forgiving him? I think forgiveness has to be earned, not just asked for, I replied. And some things are simply unforgivable. Jake called an hour later to tell me our father had passed away. I felt no grief, only a complicated relief. 2 months later, after my record was officially expunged, I stood in front of my classroom of high school students for the first time in 5 years. Hi, everyone. I'm Miss Reynolds, I said, feeling like I'd reclaimed a piece of myself that had been stolen. Welcome to Algebra 2. That evening, Lisa raised her glass in a toast. To justice served. To new beginnings, I added. So what's next? She asked. Now that this chapter is closed? I'm not sure, I admitted. But for the first time in years, I'm actually excited to find out. Some debts can never be repaid, but the truth always deserves to be told. What would you do if someone who once betrayed you suddenly needed your help? Would you seek justice, offer forgiveness, or simply walk away?